Ghosts of War by Paul Robinson. Read by Paul Inman, author of Ageless. In production and for pre-order at inkshares.com. Chapter 1. You sure the cloak's working? I checked it yesterday. It's fine, mate. You only finished installing it yesterday. Ramses, are we or are we not currently being shot out of the sky? No, Sol, we are not. Well, I guess it's bloody working then, ain't it? Cole Trask stood in the back of the cockpit listening to his pilot, Solomon Dane, and his demolitions man, Ramses Barden, bicker as they always had. He'd never gotten to the bottom of where the bickering started between them. It was already in full swing when he met them, and it had gone on so long that he couldn't be certain they'd even remember. A voice spoke up from his left. It was Gregor Mishkal, the first new member of Shadow Point since Cole had joined 10 years ago, and only the sixth member in its 25-year history. He had been busy, quietly cleaning his rifle, and Cole had forgotten he was even there. Are they always like this, sir? Gregor asked. Unfortunately, kid, they are, Cole said, but you'll get used to it. Cole had gotten used to it. He'd gotten used to a lot of things. Then again, he did have a decade's head start on Gregor, who had only been with them for a few weeks. A shudder rolled through the ship as Saul brought the ship closer to the surface. It wasn't usually this rough, but then the Havoc wasn't exactly designed to fly this low consistently. It was rough, but nothing he hadn't sat through countless times before. The city was just coming into view, the low setting sun catching on the endless rows of glass and concrete that made up its bulk. Beep. About bloody time, Solomon said. Ram? Cole asked, continuing to look out over the city. Mark is a Medosian male, Ram said, his eyes never leaving the screen. Political extremist. Recently been associating with some undesirables he probably shouldn't have been. Location? Cole asked. Currently enjoying a lovely evening at the Trag Empirical Casino, Ram said. Directive? House cleaning. House cleaning, sir? Gregor Mishkal asked, looking to Cole for an answer. None came. He scanned the room and was greeted with Ramses slicing his finger across his own throat. Gregor now had a much better understanding of the house cleaning directive. But why are the orders coming in so late, sir? Gregor said. I thought there was a 48-hour buff. There have been some issues of late, Cole said. Issues, sir? Leaks, Saul said. Targets getting paid off, things like that. To say there had been some issues lately would be putting it mildly. Acquisition rates across the 42nd Purifying Force had been at an all-time low for months, and enlisted casualty rates were at their highest point since the end of the 50-year war. These weren't details Cole felt like going into, though. The kid looked spooked enough as it was without putting that out there, too. How far out, Saul? Cole asked. 5 minutes. Well then, Cole said, moving for the door. Let's do this. Gregor got up and rushed to the door before he was pulled up by Cole. Easy, Cole said, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. First time ain't so bad. Just let it come to you and you'll be fine. Yes, sir. And can we please cut it with this sir crap? Cole asked with a sigh. You're killing me. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, Gregor said, tripping over his words. Gregor proceeded to shuffle hurriedly out of the room, head down. Poor kid. You scared him, Ram said with a chuckle. Cole laughed. I was trying to be nice. He's going to be a handful, isn't he? Ram said, already knowing the answer. I told Alan we'd be fine with just the 3 of us, Cole said. But, you know. Regulations, Ram said. Regulations, Cole echoed. Fickle bitch they are, Saul said, forcing his way between the pair and out into the main hold. Indeed, Cole said, making his way out of the cockpit. Hey, Ram said, remember, first time ain't so bad. He'd be proud of you. It had been 6 months since the death of Nathan Revick, their former leader. For 6 months, Shadow Point had been sat on the bench, a command-sanctioned grieving and evaluation period. 2 months ago, Cole had been appointed the new leader of Shadow Point. Today was their first day back on the job. The Havoc touched down silently on the roof of the casino. Its boarding ramp lowered and 4 figures descended, moving into cover. Then, as quickly as it arrived, the ship glided away to a safe altitude. It was nothing but a faint shiver in the ever-darkening night sky. The roof was empty. No one was aware of their arrival. Told ya. Ram gave Saul a short, sharp punch in the arm as his only reply. It took no time at all to locate a maintenance shaft, and, with a quick blast from a plasma torch, they were inside. They moved in silence, Cole on point. Ram bringing up the rear with Gregor just in front of him. Saul, however, was muttering to himself the whole time, running his hands along the wall, looking for a jack-in point for the casino's security. It took longer than he'd hoped, but he found it. Sneaky little bastard. Got him? Cole asked. Just a sec, Saul said, flicking through the feeds. Ah, there he is. Private game room off the main floor. How many others? About a dozen. Looks like maybe 4 security. Cole moved closer to get a better look at the feed. He scanned the faces of those in the room, but couldn't make anything out on the grainy feed. For a reason he couldn't explain, Cole started to get an uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach. Cole, Ram said, trying to get Cole's attention. Snapping out of his trance, Cole pulled back from the monitor. Floor plan, Saul. Yeah, here it is, Saul said as the main floor casino flickered onto the screen as a vague 3-dimensional rendering. Cole looked it over. Saul, I want you to stay here. Monitor the feeds and get ready to cut the power. Cole turned to Ram. Ram, I need you on the floor on crowd control. They'll probably panic. They usually do, Ram said, moving off down the walkway. Gregor, I want... Yes, sir, Gregor said, interrupting. Cole just looked at him. He got the message. I want you up here on this mezzanine. Cole pointed it out on the map. Looks like it's undergoing some renovations, so there should be plenty of cover up there. A quick nod later, and Gregor was off running down the corridor. Cole watched as he disappeared around the corner and was gone. He was young, maybe too young, and this was his first time in the field. Commander Allen had assured him that Gregor was the finest young sniper the Academy had seen in years, but apparently that didn't stop him from also being the most nervous young sniper Cole had seen in years. He was, however, 17 years Cole's junior, so he could be forgiven for being just a little nervous. He's eager, Saul said. I'll give him that. We all were at his age. It took Cole a few minutes to navigate through the vents above the casino's main floor, being careful not to make too much noise and alert those below him. There was enough noise coming from the casino floor that he probably didn't need to be so careful, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. He'd been shot at in a vent before. It wasn't fun. The 3 jagged scars in his left calf were evidence of that. Everyone ready? Cole asked over the comms. Good to go, came Saul's reply. By this time he'd gutted several control panels back in the maintenance shaft. Turns out gaining access to the lights proved more difficult than he'd planned. I'll only be able to get you 20 seconds of darkness before the backups kick in. It'll have to do, Cole said. I'm ready, sir, Gregor whispered. He had a clear view of the entire main floor from his position. Gaming tables covered the majority of the floor, and there were several large statues scattered about. The private game rooms were along the back wall. There were about 10 by his estimation, and he had a clear view of all their doors. To his left, a large level walkway stretched into the distance, no doubt leading to some kind of balcony or outdoor plaza. Below him to his right was the bar. It stretched the length of the wall, and there he saw a familiar face. "Ram," Cole pressed, after not getting a reply. "He's, Gregor stammered. "A bit busy." "Ram," Cole said, not louder, but more urgent. He was trying to be stealthy, after all. All right, Ram said, farewelling his new female companion with a wink. "Keep your pants on." "You keep your pants on," Saul said, chuckling as he watched the scene on the monitor. "What can I say? I'm a people person," Ram said, moving away from the bar out onto the main floor. "You good?" Cole said. Ram leaned against a large gold statue by the entrance, giving him a clear view of the whole room. "Yeah, I'm good." "All right then, wait for my mark," Cole said. Cole had positioned himself at a ceiling grate which gave him a fairly clear view of the private room beneath him. The lighting in there was dim, but he could still make out the individuals inside. Saul was right, 12 players, 2 with a pair of private security each. One of them was the Medosian they were after. The short horns protruding from the back of his head made him easy to spot. The guards complicated things, but not dreadfully so. He unlid the latches, holding the grate in place, and quietly removed it. It was time. "On my mark," Cole said, readying himself, still unable to shake the uneasy feeling in the back of his mind. "Go!" Darkness. Panic. The lights went out almost immediately. Cole fell from the ceiling, dropped to a knee, and quickly surveyed the situation. The emergency lighting had kicked in, bathing the entire room in a dull red glow. He blocked out the panic screams from the patrons outside and made his move. Swiftly dodging between scattering gamblers, he came upon the 2 guards quicker than they were able to react. With a crunch and a snap, the 2 guards dropped to the floor and began to slowly crawl away, nursing their wounds. Cole took a few steps toward the target and unholstered his pistol. It came to rest on the forehead of the Medosian, who was frozen in fear in his chair. Cole gave the room a quick scan as best he could. Most of the other occupants had either fled out of the door or were cowering in a corner. Exhaling deeply, Cole calmly pulled the trigger. He took no pleasure in it, but the red mist signaled a successful mission nonetheless. "It's done," Cole said, the message circulating through the squad's earpieces. Cole walked past the Medosian's lifeless body and made for the door. "Hello, Cole," a man's voice said, clear amidst the chaos. Cole froze. As he turned slowly to face the voice, the lights flickered back on. Cole was right to feel uneasy about the mission. "Long time," said the man. The commotion outside had started simply enough. When the lights went out, the patrons scrambled. Some panicked and ran, some hid under tables, and others tried to make off with whatever chips they could grab. It got a lot less simple once the casino security got wind of what was happening. At least 12 security personnel currently clogged the doorway to the main floor. Half were ushering people out, and the other half were firing at Ram. Ram hated the other half. He was ducked down behind a table and could only pop his head out every now and then to get a few shots off in an effort to hold them back. Gregor was doing what he could to help, but all he could really do was provide suppressive fire. With so many civilians rushing about, he couldn't risk taking any direct shots. Cole hadn't yet reappeared from the private room, and too much time had passed since he said the job was done. From Ram's current position, he couldn't see the room without losing his head. "Hey, kid!" he shouted to Gregor. "Can you see Cole?" Gregor looked to the doorway. The room was lit, but he couldn't see any movement inside. "I can't see him!" "Cole!" Ram yelled into the comm. "We could really use a hand out here. It would seem security has taken exception to our presence." Nothing. "Saul," Ram said, "have you got eyes on?" No, mate, Saul said, clearly out of breath. He was running. I'm coming to you with some friends of my own. Terrific, Ram said. There was only one thing to do. Ram grabbed 2 grenades off his belt, primed them, and lobbed them toward the bases of the 2 statues near the entrance. They landed just right, as they always did. The 2 closely timed explosions caused the statues to come crashing down across the entryway, blocking the advancement of the security team. It may have also crushed a few of them, but that wasn't something Ram could be concerned with right now. Cole took 1 step towards the man seated at the table. He wasn't even all the way through the step when the 2 guards at the man's side ran for it. The man looked after them and laughed. I guess you really do get what you pay for, he said. Cole slowed his advance, still silent, getting a closer look at the man to confirm his worst fears. After all these years, you have nothing to say? The man said. Cole stopped and steadied himself. Tobias. You're supposed to be dead, Tobias said, cutting him off. Funny how that works out sometimes. Tobias stood up from the table and started walking towards Cole. You know, you don't look any different, he said, and then motioned to the dead Madosian and his guards. And clearly, you found another line of work in which to use your skills. Tobias stopped within arm's reach of Cole, but Cole couldn't move. Tobias reached down and grabbed Cole's hand that held his pistol and pulled the barrel to his own forehead. Go on then. Why not have another stab at it? Tobias said, goading Cole into action, pressing the barrel harder into his skin. No action came. Cole just stared into Tobias's eyes, the same eyes that had haunted him for the last 15 years. He couldn't process what was happening. Tobias sighed and let Cole's hands drop, the barrel's cold metal leaving an imprint in Tobias's forehead as it fell. I guess we'll have to do the other thing then, Tobias said as the dull thud from the explosions outside echoed in the room. He pulled his hands back, then thrust them forward towards Cole, the force of the invisible blast knocking him clear across the room into a wall. Without wasting another second, Tobias ran for it. What the bloody hell is going on? Saul shouted. He'd burst through the maintenance door just as Ram brought down the statues. Where's Cole? Still in there, Ram said, back over the din, pointing to the private rooms. He was out of cover now. The statues had done their job of slowing up security. Guys, Gregor said from above. What? They both replied. Who's that? He asked, pointing to the lone figure running from the private room. Ram and Saul's gaze followed Gregor's outstretched arm to see a man running down the long hallway. Beats me, Ram said, puzzled. Probably just a civilian. What's that about, then? Saul questioned as he saw Cole burst out of the room in pursuit of the man. I don't know. I thought he said he got the guy, Ram said. Should we follow? Gregor asked, already moving in that direction. I'm sure he's got it, said Saul, unholstering a pistol. Yeah, Ram said, heading toward the hallway. I'm sure he's fine. Are you guys freaking kidding me? Cole shouted into the comm as he ran full tilt down the hallway. That was all the prompting they needed. Gregor had the worst of it trying to catch up. The whole upper floor was in the middle of quite extensive renovations, and the walkway to the outside was cluttered with boxes and equipment. He tripped at least 3 times, but when he eventually made it, the scene was one he hadn't expected. With the last sunlight just disappearing over the vast cityscape behind him, Tobias stood with his back to the open air and his hands held out from his side in surrender. The balcony plaza had cleared in seconds after they had arrived. It was now just the 5 of them. Cole looked around and saw Gregor up on the balcony, his rifle trained on the confrontation. Do you have a shot? Cole asked. I do, Gregor replied, flustered. I have a shot. Take it, but I want him alive, Cole said. Alive, Tobias said, laughing as he overheard the order. My, Cole, perhaps you have changed. Tobias's words hung in the air. Faint screams from everywhere else in the casino drifted on the wind. Take it, Gregor. Cole said calmly. Gregor didn't know what to do. Sir, he's an unauthorized— Take the damn shot, Cole yelled, glaring up at Gregor from below. Crack! The moments after the shot was fired seemed to drag an age. The shot missed and flew harmlessly wide right. Tobias, from his perch on the edge of the balcony, laughed, shrugged, and then stepped backwards into the ether. Damn it! Cole shouted as he ran to the edge. What greeted him made his blood boil. 20 meters or so below the lip of the balcony hovered a ship. It was medium-sized, probably a civilian model, and crouched on its roof was Tobias. He stood slowly, the wind ripping at his clothes, and stared down Cole. Slowly the ship began to glide away into the night, and before long was gone from sight entirely. All that could be heard now was the faint rustling of leaves from the many trees that lined the plaza. Cole sighed and backed away from the edge. Saul, bring the ship around, he said quietly. Already on its way. Cole turned and pointed up at Gregor. You, he said, far too calm for the situation. Down here. Now. Gregor was gone before Cole had even finished the sentence. The Havoc came to rest, hovering just near the edge of the plaza, the ramp appearing from its shimmering mass. Without a word, Ram and Saul made their way up. Saul, get me a fix on that ship. I want to know where it's headed, Cole said as Saul passed him. Cole lingered on the ramp. Gregor was nowhere to be seen. Crack, crack, crack! The sound caught Cole's attention. He looked up to see Gregor running full tilt down the corridor toward the ship, with at least 20 security personnel in tow. Hey, look at him go, said Ram over the comm, doing his best to stifle a chuckle. A little help would be nice, Gregor shouted, firing a pistol blindly over his shoulder as he ran. In no time at all, shots rang out from the belly of the Havoc, thinning the pursuing herd a little. Not much, but enough. Gregor leapt for the ramp and only just made it. Cole caught his arms and hauled him aboard in one swift motion. Thank you, sir, Gregor said, deeply out of breath. Don't thank me yet, Cole said. Gregor scrambled to his feet and ran into the belly of the ship. Cole turned to face the guards as Havoc began to drift away from the balcony and gave them a short, sharp salute before hitting the button to close the ramp and heading inside. As he came into the cockpit, Cole saw Saul and Ram both poring over the displays. Tell me you've got him, he said. Saul pushed back from the screen and let out a sigh of defeat. He's gone. We lost visual and the scanners aren't getting anything. A yell escaped Cole's throat as he slammed his fist into a nearby panel. The lights in the cockpit flickered. Hey, steady, said Saul, concerned for the welfare of his ship. Cole, Ram said, concern growing in his voice. Who was that? Unconsciously, Cole ran his fingers down the large scar that ran the length of his forearm. The tips caught on a glinting piece of metal embedded in his flesh. A ghost. You have listened to Chapter 1 of Ghosts of War, written by Paul Robinson, read by Paul Inman, author of Ageless.